Welcome back to Studio Chatter. When a relationship breaks apart, everything in your life could be questioned. How can we cope and thrive through such a transition? Connie, thanks for staying with us for this overwhelming topic.
And it is overwhelming. I get to have the privilege of talking with so many women who are going through this experience. And not just after 7 years or 10 years, but we're seeing a lot more of 22, 25, even 30-year marriages. A friend of mine just told me that she's going through a divorce after 38 years of marriage. And it used to be years ago, if you made it past the sort of the 15-year mark, 20-year, it was like, we're in, we're doing. Yep. And it's not like that anymore. There's a lot of pressure, environmental issues, a lot of genetic issues, a lot of passed down things that could have been kind of washed over or kind of schmod, put under the rug that are no longer able to do that. We actually have to start facing and dealing with these things. It's a difficult thing.
So I also think it's probably part of the culture. Like it's a big no-no. If you're married with covenants and that sort of thing here, that you shouldn't.
Yep, divorce is a no.
You should just stay. So what is changing, and why are women finally saying, I just, maybe men too, why can't I stay anymore?
I think what I'm hearing when I'm talking to women is that there is a lot more knowledge now of what dysfunctional behaviors, mental illness, and things like that. And the dialogue has gotten so much more open, which is wonderful. I think knowledge is power, and I always tell women, first and foremost, get aware, get accurate knowledge. Because they'll talk to a friend who'll talk to a friend, well, I think it's this and I think it's that, and that is not helpful. It's going to get accurate information. I know a lady just texted me the other day, and she's like, I think that I'm married to a narcissist. It's been 20-something years.
Poor thing.
And as she's going down the list, it's hitting all those 9 symptoms, and you only need 5 out of 9 for the disorder, and she's hitting every single one. And I can say things like texting, what about this, what about that, and sure as shooting, controlling the money, controlling her time. He's yelling and swearing at me and telling me it's my fault. That's gaslighting. I mean, all of these things going down and kind of checklisty. Now, I'm very careful in what I do because I'm not a counselor, I'm not a therapist, but I lead them to those people so they can get even more accurate information.
That's super important, I bet.
It's so important.
Because not to just look on Google and say, I think this, so honey, sorry,
you
this
fit
what
that
you
bill.
got.
Yeah. It's so important to get that knowledge, and then I say, look for patterns. Look for what's broken, look for the patterns, because a one time here and a one time there, we're all not our best selves at different times. We're going through, it's environmental, maybe he's lost his job or whatever, there's different things. But then there's patterns, there's history. And when women start kind of journaling what the history is and really starting to look at what's happening, they start seeing those patterns and they start realizing, oh, it's not me. This is happening all the time. And I'm questioning myself, but I'm actually seeing that I'm not the one starting this. I'm not the one that's looking for it. I'm trying super hard to please you and you're not pleasable. Starting to see these patterns, and then they have something to work with that's not just, it's getting it out from here and on here. The first thing they'll say to me is, I feel like I'm crazy. And the first thing I get to say to them when I'm hearing their story, not knowing both sides, but hearing the patterns, I can say, you're not crazy. So go get informed and get help so that you can start making some informed decisions.
Do you have special people that you send people to that you feel really good about?
In fact, it got to such a point where when I was talking with so many different women, I was hearing the same topics over and over. I need legal help. I need financial analyst. I need therapeutic help. And then the same thing. I don't have any money. He's hidden money. He's taking me to court. He's doing all of these things. He's taken off and now I'm with the kids or whatever. So I contacted a bunch of different experts that I vetted and know to be really wise and helpful. And I actually created a program, a little 6-week, 6-course program, so they can even binge watch it. And we all donated our time and energy for it so that they can get help in those 6 areas: legal, financial, emotional, parental, all of those things. So all they have to do is watch these modules, and then they do the suggested exercises that we tell them, and they get baseline, credible counsel so that they know they have a starting point to come from.
So what do you suggest for someone who feels like they're in a dysfunctional marriage or just leaning towards divorce? Where do you send them first?
It always depends on the person. So that's what I always say is get accurate information first. Then the second thing is I say get a support group. So whether it's a religious person you can trust, a support council like a support group, or a therapist or something like that, where you get support, go talk to a legal person. A lot of times they'll give you a free counseling session, so a free consult. So even a lawyer can give you a free consult, and you can say, I'm seeing these these things. I feel like there's money being hidden. I don't know what to do with this. And they can give you very clear information. I've had different experiences with people who have personally come to me. I want to make it very clear. I'm not an advocate of divorce, but I always say divorce is not a solution, but sometimes it's a last option. And when there's abuse, there's addiction, there's adultery, there's those pieces where it's been not only happening, but it's been repetitive. That's the children have to be considered, and she has to be considered because they're getting to a place where they're literally melting down. They can't take it anymore, and who could?
Right.
So when I'm talking to someone, so for example, this gal, I told her, go get the information and get that support group. Another gal called me and said, we both have come to a place we know we need to divorce, and so I just wanted to get your thoughts on what's the steps to do from here. And I do help them once they know that they're divorcing, then I'll say, here, look at these steps of what you can do to get informed, right? But until that place, I say you have to know for yourself, because you're going to bear that burden of knowing that this is the choice that you've made.
Yeah.
So I say go to the nth degree, and then I do that Ginger Rogers, I did everything he did backwards and in heels. I say make sure you have your
good advice.
knowledge, right? And I'm a spiritual person, so I say I go to God and I get my download. Is this the right thing to do? Because we really don't know the situation. And I can say from my personal experience, I'm so glad that I did things that didn't make sense to me at the time, but they made sense later. And I had peace through the whole thing. So for example, a lady called me the other day and she said, we've decided we're going to divorce. I want to know what some of the next steps that would be wise to take. And the feeling thought I got was, I don't know if that's really where you're at. Now, I don't know this woman. I said, tell me some more. She told me the experience. He had experienced abuse when he was younger, and they had been married for a long time, and she said the last several years have just been so weird, out of the blue. And I said, listen, you've got this history of many, many years of a good marriage, and now you have weird. What does that tell you? To me, that says he finally feels safe that he can deal with this, but he's afraid you're not going to stick around. So he's making it brutal. Now, I don't know. I'm not a therapist. But I said what that says to me, and I could feel it in my soul. Sorry. I said, I think you need to try again and set healthy boundaries. You don't deserve to be in abusive situations, but let him know you're all in, and try that where he knows you're not leaving, but you are going to require healthy boundaries. And we got done with that conversation. We were both in tears, and she said, Connie, this wasn't what I expected, but I can feel that this is what I needed. So I'm super careful when people come to me. I like to send them to experts because I'm not one, but I also try to feel it out because every woman's situation is different. And you have to acknowledge that when you go to a friend or your mother-in-law or whatever.
And if they've been divorced, they're going to
they're going to have one thing and another thing.
Right.
And there's so many things. That's why I say, it doesn't matter what your religious beliefs are. You have to get close to the divine to know what this is, because this isn't just two people. This is a family. This is a community. This is friends, neighbors, everything that's involved. And it's worth fighting every fight for. And that being said, you do not need to stay in an abusive situation for yourself or your children.
Yes.
That's good. Good advice.
So then how do we survive after?
That's a whole
Yes.
other.
It could be a whole other, maybe a
Well,
tidbit.
I think it's super interesting that you look at different age groups, even because some of the things we talked about before, whether it's the culture or the age group, you can be in your 20s and it might just be a maturity and maybe made those decisions at the wrong time or whatever, because you get wiser in years, even though, going into our fabulous 50s and all that that knowledge that you take with you. But sometimes I think you can get to a point too, and everybody talks about families or all of those involved, or we're staying for the kids, and those two people look at each other and say, why are we here? Or do we have anything in common? So when you're in the marriage, it's so important to make sure that you have that communication. And
absolutely. And I always say to women, flourish in the thicket. I've talked with women who've been like, I'm so done, and I just feel like I'm not even myself, and I just want to cut it and go. And I say, flourish now in the thicket. What would you do differently now that you would do if you divorced him? Well, I'd lose weight, and I'd go and do this, and I'd take a class, and I'd do this, and I say, do it. Do it now and see what shifts in the relationship. And that may just be the thing. Now, this is not saying it's all her and it's not him or anything like that. What I'm saying is do what you have control over, so that if that is a place you absolutely have to go to, you have done every single thing possible. And I know for myself that that's the case for me. I know that I did everything and then did it all over and then did it all over again. Years and years and years and years. Not one regret. Not one regret. But I also flourished even in the throes of the most difficult times, I still focused on joy and purpose and thriving and helping my kids thrive. And so that I knew when I came to a certain point, I had no doubt. It was absolutely clear. And I was showing my children all the way along, which is so important to show them this example, how to try to strive for the healthiest relationship possible no matter the situation. Because after, it doesn't all go away. You still have connection. You still have all of these pieces that you're still dealing with. So you've still got to be able the mindset of taking the high road, of being confident, being clear, being that conduit with the divine. You have to stay in that solid place for yourself and your children.
Yep, you've completely gone through the process to know you have the confidence.
Exactly. And that made it so much smoother for me and my children. I think that's why we were able to swiftly move into a place of peace, love, and joy. And that's so crucial when you're going through this.
So Connie, after watching both of these segments, I'm sure our viewers are like, hey, I would love to talk to Connie. What route is the best way to get a hold of you?
ConnieSokol.com, and we have free downloads. So text the number 31996. So 31996, whichever one you want, with the 2 segments we have. 5-day purpose challenge. You can get a 5-day purpose packet to develop your purpose for Fabulous 50s or whatever stage you're in. Just type 5-day, the words 5-day, to that number. Or if you want to do this Thrive Beyond Divorce, you can type Thrive Beyond. So just type Thrive Beyond to the same number, 31996, and we have free downloads and a free masterclass that you can watch and get more tips for these things.
Okay. And if people want to talk to you directly?
They can schedule a free consult call.
But they can do that all on your website?
All on my website. Go to ConnieSokol.com, and then they can email and they can get the scheduling link.
Okay.
We love you. We love your energy. We love your wisdom. We love everything about you. Let's go Christmas shopping together.
You got it. You got it.
I love you guys. Love you women.
Thanks, Connie.
There's more studio chatter coming up.